Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Kisma, and today's episode is called Abundance Disruptors, Things People Do to Mess Up Their Love, Money, and Happiness. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Well, hello there, Nick.
Well, hello there, Kisma.
Are you joyful and optimistic today? Or are you feeling like, did you choose your, based on last week's episode, did you choose your attitude today?
I did. Truth be told, I need a little help.
Oh,
Yeah, I need a little help this morning.
Yeah.
So that was cool. You gave me a little pep talk.
I did.
I'm not usually a pep talk kind of guy, but
Sometimes we need a little pep talk.
every once in a while, you need a little pep talk.
Well, I'm glad you asked for one.
I'm glad that you offered. It was really helpful.
God
actually,
knows I get enough from you.
yeah. I mean, it's just so I like to keep it that simple.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause we're so busy, our heads get so cluttered up with so many things and so many to-dos and all this other stuff. When you can boil things down to very simple steps that can reset you, it's so powerful.
Yeah. So if you've not yet listened to episode 198, listen. It's all about deciding what kind of day you're going to have.
Yeah.
And today we're going to look at where you might disrupt that. So
a little bit of a companion episode.
A little bit of a companion episode. It's really, I call it Abundance Disruptors. Sometimes I refer to these with my clients and students as manifestation disruptors, because here's the deal. Like the manifestation 101 is you are always manifesting. And if you followed me or Nick, or you've done any sort of law of attraction work before, that we can get very purposeful and set our vision and our goals and our ideals and do all these things. And then very quickly and very easily, humans disrupt those. And so we want to understand where we disrupt it and then what to do to get, again, back in flow with it.
Yeah. It's really kind of like going to church for 1 hour a week and thinking that you're spiritual.
Well, exactly.
It's just like, it's like, okay, so you got your hour, or whatever that you spent on this, and then all the other hours of the day get spent in other ways. That's why these are so important. It's
really about finding your frequency where you're as receptive and as clear as possible. So it's sort of like that sweet spot of your frequency, of your vibe. And to get steady. And it's not, just FYI, it's not going to be a super high thing, because what goes up has to come down. Mm-hmm. So the more that you're centered, we'll be talking a lot about in future episodes as well, aligning the head and the heart, and you know where you're going. You have this belief, you've got this. What can happen as the disruptors? Let's say, for instance, you're like, you know what? I'm going to create this project and I'm going to go do it. Or I'm going to schedule this trip, or I'm going to look for a new house. All of these things. We get excited as humans, and then very quickly, what will come into the mind is, oh my gosh, but how am I going to do that? Is it going to work? What if it doesn't work? How am I going to feel? What are people going to think of me if I actually do get this great thing, or I build my business to a certain level? There are all these little voices that come in and doubt and disrupt your abundance.
It starts with the doubt.
The doubt is the big disruptor. And here's what's important. That doubt, those voices that you hear, I like to think of them as like these voices on either side of you where you can just like tell them, no, stop, like not right now, and go away. I'm not listening to you, because that voice wasn't yours when you were born. Somewhere you took on the belief, somewhere you were taught, you were shown, you had an experience, and the voices get sticky. yet you have the ability to come into an abundant lens, a clean and clear lens, and redecide and re-choose what you're going to believe.
That comes back to what we talked about last week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like a big place where people get off is the meaning that they place on things.
What do you mean by that?
So we go into our day and we have an idea about what we think it's supposed to be in order to be productive, or we have a goal and we have an idea about the things that are supposed to happen that indicate success. Okay. And inevitably something is different.
Yeah.
And so we take that very narrow scope of what we thought was success or what we wanted or the way it was supposed to be. And then we make everything outside of that wrong or bad or failure.
Or failure.
Or whatever it is. And so it's our perception of whatever those things are that actually becomes one of the disruptors, which like you said, leads right back into the doubt. Oh, this didn't turn out exactly like I thought. I must have done something wrong.
Yes, we'll make everything wrong. We'll make ourselves wrong. We'll make the results wrong. We just make a whole bunch of stuff wrong. And the truth is, when we stay in the vision, when we stay in the manifestation, and we're willing to have it express itself in a way that maybe we didn't see it coming. But I always say, and I know it's a truth, universe wants even more for us than we do. It usually is ready to give us more than what we're asking, but most people aren't willing to see it and receive it. And sometimes by receiving more, we've got to walk a path. There's some resiliency to be built. There's some strength to be built. Maybe there's some karma to walk. It's so important to not quit on our dreams, to maybe if something didn't work out, okay, what needs to happen? What do I need to choose next? Rather than allowing the doubt, the worry, the anxiety, the fear. And another big disruptor for your abundance is resentment and jealousy. Well, it worked for them, but it never works for me. And then there's anger. All of these things are like tearing into your field of abundance as if there were these knives and it just ripped.
Jeez.
I know, ripped into your wealth container.
Yeah, I see little gold coins spilling out.
Yeah, spilling out. You're losing it. You're losing it. And it's easy to think that way because we're so worried as people what other people think. And one of the first things you can do to not disrupt your abundance is just don't freaking care what other people think. Obviously, I'm not saying be a bad, mean human. I'm talking about when you're making decisions, when you have dreams, when you're going to go out there, do something new. Don't worry what anybody else thinks. Life is too short.
Yeah.
People will disrupt your own abundance by getting in there and putting doubt on you because sometimes they don't want you to succeed. They can't see themselves doing it. Other times they're trying to protect you. This happens a lot in families. Just stay in your lane and don't disrupt your abundance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's keeping your head. We did an episode on that, the head and the heart, really keeping your head and your heart aligned and in communication with one another. It's not about not having compassion or empathy for other people or what they're going through or anything like that. It's just deciding to not allow that to affect your decisions.
So there's a couple of things that I wanted to share. And again, it's relevant. It's like a pair episode from last week. When you find your frequency during the day going down, when you find that you're allowing these disruptors or these things to come in and, put down your vibe, diminish your dreams, etc., what can you do that lifts yourself up? What's the reset? For a lot of people, it could be music. It could be going outside for a quick walk. It could be dancing. It could be reading. Cutting cords is a big one, right?
Sure.
We've talked about cutting cords, doing some breathing, doing meditation. There is a way, again, deciding to reset, get back in alignment with your vision and your choice and stay there.
Yeah. Well, it comes, something I want to kind of chime in here with is in last episode, we kind of passingly mentioned, number 2A is just making things too important, just putting way too much importance on things that are not that important. And that's those are the disruptors, right? All of those things are disruptors. And when you catch yourself in that awareness to catch yourself in that, and there's no real shortcut for that other than just like pay attention.
Pay attention, build your intellect, be aware, be present.
Yeah, really listen and look at the feedback you're getting from the world, not in like from a safety perspective, but just like, okay, well, if your whole day is going off sideways and you're feeling really agitated, like that's, just take it as feedback and recognize where things are becoming much too inflated, because that's going to help you decide to do a pattern interrupt, right? That's one of the tricky parts about this is just not realizing that we actually need a pattern interrupt.
Right. We need a reset, a pattern interrupt.
That's the tricky part of the whole game is just recognizing, oh, I think I need that.
Right.
And then choosing one of those things. Like all of those are great things. Physical movement is excellent because it physically breaks up that energy flow.
It does.
When you're in an energy flow that's downward, it's just as easy to have an energy flow that's upward.
It's right there.
It's right there. We have to make the choice to do it, but it can be difficult to detach, kind of pull ourselves out of that one and reattach to the one that's taking us where we want to go or to a higher level. And those sorts of things, especially like physical exercise and just kind of shifting up your energy, whatever happens in that is what needs to happen in order to do that and energetically to make it more elegant.
I mean, I found myself in that last week. I was on a workshop with my coach. It was like 7 a.m. Pacific, till 1 p.m. And man, it was a lot of sitting in front of the computer. And it started at 7 a.m. So I didn't have my full workup at the beginning of the day, my full ritual. And then I went straight into clients. And so there wasn't enough movement. There wasn't enough meditation. There wasn't enough anything for me.
Yeah. It takes a toll really fast.
It takes a toll really fast. And so that would be the other thing to maintain the abundance of frequency and vibe. Set your day up correctly. Like if you're disrupting with negative thoughts, if you're disrupting with doubt, if you're disrupting with anxiety, get to your own mind and energy and soul first thing in the morning. We always talk about this, right? If you grab your phone and all of a sudden you're on the world's agenda instead of your agenda, it's over. Somebody emails you and you get a trigger, you've given all your power and energy to them for the entire day. Unless you really go into a strong reset. So why not set the day up really strong, really purposeful? So whatever's happening, you're like, okay, got it. And next, you really stay focused.
I just can't even talk about how important that is. You have to have such a high level of skill to be able to wake up first thing, pick up your phone and not be affected by that in some way or to be able to just put it down and be done with it. It's just not, it's not setting yourself up for success.
And it'll be okay day 1 and day 2. And then by day 3, like you're going to get hit. Something's going to happen. Think of it as before your feet hit the ground, you're setting your energy. You're setting your attitude. You're setting up your day.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, you avoid the disruptors by, doing what you can do to lift your frequency, taking breaks, drinking water, doing all those things. And finally, what I do want to share is there's a time to close the day. When you've heard us talk about hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, it is going to be a challenge to not be tipped. So there's a point of the day where you're like, I'm done. It's one of the things I love working on with my clients, especially if they work from home, is close out your desk, tidy it up, walk away, set it up. So the next morning you sit down and you're boom, you're in it after you do whatever ritual you're doing or meditation, close it up.
Yeah. That takes a lot of,
it takes discipline.
Yeah. It takes care for sure to
really
be able to
does.
do that.
You're so much more powerful when you do that.
Yeah. It makes such a huge difference. These little things, they're not big things, but they're little things. Up. They make all the difference in the world. I want to circle back because you talked about frustration, anger, jealousy. I thought was an interesting one. Resentment, all these things. Worry, doubt, those things. And that's where you have an opportunity. Every one of us has an opportunity to raise our level of awareness. What are the things that happen that send us down those paths? Mm-hmm. It's like setting up your inner guardian.
Yeah. Well, the less objective you are, the faster you're going to get taken out. Mm-hmm. The weaker your intellect, the faster you're going to get taken out. The more hungry, angry, lonely, tired you are, you're going to go, guys. Like we are human. So what we want to do is, yes, build the awareness and build the presence. And if we are in, there's that episode, Stay in Your Own Lane. If we're staying in our own lane and we're holding our thoughts and our feelings and our actions towards our vision, we're going to get a lot done. When we get distracted or we hit an upper limiter or we decide and choose to get distracted, we stop. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the self-sabotage episode. Oh, I'm going to go over on social media. All of a sudden you might see, if you're an entrepreneur and you see somebody that does what you do and they've got this post about the $1 zillion they make, that can trigger you if you're not aware. Mm-hmm. Or, somebody says something to you, you run into somebody, they've got a really strong need to be right. If you get triggered, that means you've got a need to be right. Mm. So remember, the world is this beautiful mirror for us, right? So I think there's a number of things that can begin to pull us off. We are so well poised to continue to choose. It's like leading with the heart and the soul. Remember, keep those voices on the side and just keep no, not right now. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to focus. I'm going to lead forward. As in, I like to imagine there's this light in front of us and it's a direct connect to source. And that's where you're going.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so important. I wanted to kind of highlight that piece with the awareness because it's not, yes, those are the things. And there are things that happen in our day that kind of pull us down those paths. And it gives us an opportunity to really look at ourselves. And, and that's the art. If we're not here for that, what else are we here for?
Exactly.
So that's such a great way to just start observing ourselves and observing our world in a different way.
And be careful too what you get caught up in. I was on Instagram and I'm not going to get into it, but there's a whole bunch of drama going on with a certain musician in the spiritual festival world. And I was like, whoa. And then the posts were all about processing and this, and there was just so much freaking processing going on. And I was like, I got to get out of here. It was, again, a reason to further feel a certain way for some people.
It's a decision to feel.
Yeah. Instead of, this sucks. I hope it gets cleaned up and this person gets clean and speaks the truth. And I have my life to direct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We cannot choose to be a victim to drama.
Yeah.
Please don't.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I also saw a post the other day that just so beautifully highlighted this. It's an individual who apparently is going through a bit of a dark night of the soul, and just talked about how it feels to have all these emotions and all these decades of whatever coming off and feeling it all and all these things, and it just so beautifully highlighted all of that to me of wow, that is a very painful place to be. And certainly don't want to disrespect that person's process.
The pain is real.
No doubt in my mind. And I also know that there's a much more elegant way and a much more really ease filled, maybe not easy, but ease filled way of dealing with those kinds of things. Because, like we said in the last episode, what you're doing is tacitly deciding that to play into the emotions and to dig deeper into those emotions.
And it's quicksand.
That's right. And the solution, this is the illuminated thought for the day. The solution never lies in the emotion.
Oh,
the solution always lies in the decision.
There you go, guys. That's all you need for the rest of your life.
So there you have it. That's a little bit early on the illuminated thought there, but it just came to me.
Good. The solution always lies in the decision.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. Well, we love sharing our thoughts with you and our teachings and our experiences. If you have any questions, please email hello@illuminationpodcast.com. And if you'd like to hear and learn more about the universal laws, please join my challenge, 7 Laws in 7 Days. It begins July 23rd. So if you're listening right before then, there will be a link in the show notes and you can join. It's free. There's a couple of VIP options too for not much money. We're going to have a great time.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. So until then, everyone, sending you much love and namaste.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.